Lore Lesson 1. Genesis. Your backpack is stocked with essential provisions as you lay in your bunk. A weathered cloak, a week's worth of rations, a rolled quilt and blanket, a cherished dirk, spare breeches and tunic, a water skin, 2 elixirs, a book of parchment, 2 graphite pencils, and a quill pen with ink. You were instructed to pack light. The creaking sounds of the wavering docks, the ringing of the bells in the harbor, and the gentle lapping of seawater against the hull of the ship fill your ears. You give your best attempt at getting some rest for the journey ahead, but you just can't sleep. Tomorrow, your expedition sets sail for Aeternum. The Island of Eternum. A land of fantastical legend, rumored to hold magical properties and perhaps uncovered secrets. Many have tried to reach it, but they'd never return to tell the tale. This is a secretive mission, sanctioned by the church itself. Your duty, which you've reluctantly agreed to, is to explore, chart, and document the island. You've put your trust in a seasoned seafaring explorer and his crew to accurately chart the course and navigate to a vague set of coordinates. Your journey truly begins when your feet touch the sand on an island only known to legend. Perhaps first, you must survive the journey so many have attempted before you, only to never be heard from again. Sounds dangerous, but who cares, right? What's an adventure without danger? Fellow seekers of lore, as we await the acclaimed arrival of Amazon's New World, let us take you on a journey of discovery as we dive into Aeternum's secrets. In our weekly lore lessons, we will bring you the story of the game when you can't be in game yourself. For this first episode, we're going to focus on the setting for our adventures in Aeternum. We've broken down some iconic New World screenshots and video and pulled out some gems that you may have missed. So buckle up. We're about to deep dive. Now keep in mind we're relatively new to the lore of New World, looking at the story in its current form. We aim to learn the story with you and don't consider ourselves experts in any right. We are seekers of lore, and when we find it, we seek to bring it to you. Many of you may have already uncovered the things that we discover and discuss in our lore lessons, so if this is old news to you, just be patient as we learn it for ourselves and share it with you, the listener. To start us off, we're going to examine where our characters are headed in the first place. The Island of Eternum awaits our arrival. Aeternum, or in Aeternum in Latin, has the literal meaning of forever, or eternally. We analyzed the intro video to the game, which you know is the tutorial video, and we found some very interesting points to ponder. Now keep in mind there are some minor spoilers ahead, so if you want to discover all this for yourself, you might want to skip this initial portion. It's nothing too bad though. The video, the tutorial, begins on a gritty street in what appears to be a typical early modern European harbor town. Clotheslines stretch from house to house across a stone street. Empty wagons and carts are lazily placed as if waiting for the morning when the vendors will reappear to stock them and sell their wares. A figure walks into the frame with purpose. Adorned in a mixture of heavy and medium armors, what's probably most notable, though, is the helmet worn by the figure. This brings us to our first fun fact. The figure walking down the city street in the video wore a Morion helmet, which we tend to see a great deal in New World. A Morion is a type of open helmet used by soldiers and explorers in the 16th and 17th centuries. It is probably most identifiable with early Spanish explorers and conquistadores, also known as conquerors, although the flat-brimmed helmet with a front-to-back crest was also used by foot soldiers in other parts of Europe at the time. Now, an interesting feature of the helmet worn by the gentleman in the video is its adornment with a metal full-face covering, rendered as a human face with a mustache and beard. This was not typical of helmets worn during that time period of the game, which is the 17th century. But hey, this is a fantasy game and it's freaking awesome, so we're not really doing any complaining. We also noted a medallion necklace hanging around the armored man's neck. The gold medallion depicted a lion which, due to being regarded as the king of beasts, had come to be symbolized during that time in heraldry as courage, nobility, royalty, strength, and valor. So there's no doubt in seeing this that this gentleman is a figure of strength. Now this armor-clad badass walks into a tavern where a hooded figure awaits, seated at a table. An unassuming wooden box is slid across the table by the hooded figure, identified as Father Russo. Interesting. A member of the church. Father Russo begins to speak.
Tell me, have you witnessed their power? I have. We've all heard the legends. Every child has heard the legends of the cursed sea. The stories of ships vanishing without a trace. How many have been lost over the years? Dismissed as fantasy. The nobles, the church. They all knew the truth. Something out there was growing. Something terrible. The threat grows once more as the bourgeoisie slumber. Your ship is stocked and your crew assembled. We can pretend no longer. Left unchecked, the veil will surely fall, and all will be lost to madness and ruin. This corruption must be stopped.
So it seems the captain is going on a bit of an adventure. A magical rune glows upon the box as it's opened, revealing something that widens the captain's eyes and illuminates his face with a bright aqua blue hue. Now, what is interesting here is that a navigational map appears on the screen as Father Russo speaks, telling of the legend of a cursed sea and lost ships, alluding to the fact that many have charted this course in the past, but have never returned. Did they perish? Or did they find something that compelled them to stay on Aeternum? It's also quite apparent by the map animations in the video that our adventure as players has us traveling from the western coast of Europe. Now, judging from the way the arrows are coming, it looks like possibly Spain, Portugal, or France. Something out there was growing. Something terrible. The threat grows once more as the bourgeoisie slumber. Now, bourgeoisie. Kind of a simple guy, had to look this one up. Bourgeoisie is a French term. It's a defined social class equivalent to the middle or upper middle class. There's a slight reference to its perceived materialistic values or conventional attitudes, which explains their possible slumber. A lot of people during that time were more interested in material things. Now, these statements perhaps were alluding to the secrets of the island and its corruption, of which the hooded figure mentioned of the nobles and the church had been aware. What could be so important to discover upon this island in which many expeditions had previously failed? Why would they continue to send more explorers to their possible demise? To answer these questions, we dove a bit deeper into some of the cryptic things we found surrounding New World's visuals. First off, it appears the island of Aeternum is located in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean between the Americas and 17th century Europa. With the mysterious disappearances of ships, our team examined the possibility of the Bermuda Triangle being a factor in New World's story. However, Aeternum does not appear to be located close enough to the historical location of the Bermuda Triangle for it to be a factor. But there is another theory. Another theory we came up with is that Aeternum is located directly above one of the proposed locations of the sunken city of Atlantis. Could the long-lost civilization of Atlantis itself be the root of power found upon the island of Aeternum? And here's another fun fact. The story of Atlantis, as told by Plato in around 360 BC, details its half-human, half-god founders who had created a utopian civilization and created a massive naval power around it. The geographical location of Atlantis was comprised of several islands of lush foliage, containing numerous precious metals and dotted with rare and exotic wildlife. Atlantis' naval might launches an attack on Athens, but they are repelled by the power of the gods when they created a series of natural disasters. The story concludes with Atlantis losing favor with the gods and their deities and sinking deep into the Atlantic Ocean, right around the area where they're saying Aeternum's located. Just saying, it could be a factor. Another very interesting point we discovered in our research revolves around Aeternum's most precious resource, a material known as Azoth. No, not Azeroth, Warcraft fans. Cool your jets. Azoth, however, is an actual material known in ancient history as an essential agent of transformation in alchemy. It was considered to be a universal medication or solvent used to make transmutation possible. A catalyst in an alchemical reaction, if you will. The following excerpt from the wiki for the word Azoth explains further. Believed to be the universal solvent, universal cure, and elixir of life, the Azoth is said to embody all medicines as well as the first principles of all other substances. The Azoth is believed to be the animating energy or spiritus animatus of the body, and the inspiration and enthusiasm that moves the mind. The Azoth is believed to be the mysterious evolutionary force responsible for the drive towards physical and spiritual perfection. Thus, the concept of Azoth is analogous to the light of nature or mind of God. Now, this substance, Azoth, plays a massive role in New World. Azoth is the water of life in Aeternum. It's a mineral sought out by players that possesses magical properties and serves as a form of currency. It can be used in crafting to increase the power of an item's bonuses, to respec a weapon, and even to fast travel. Perhaps most importantly, Azoth is used in the resurrection of players, pointing to the possibility that players are sent to Aeternum in search of this supernatural element. Could it be the water of life? To wrap up this first lore lesson, we at Lore Seekers are incredibly excited and optimistic about the possible quality and depth of New World's story. From what we've been able to discover in online resources such as newworldfans.com, which is amazing by the way, New World's lore contains a healthy marriage of real-world stories and folklore, ancient religions, and the modern fantasy worlds we've all come to love in our RPGs. What's more, the stories are being delivered through cryptic texts and symbolism appearing in advertisements, screenshots, wallpapers, and discoveries in the game itself. We can feel an amazing story brewing here, and what is truly piquing our interest is that they want you to seek it out. It's not being delivered to you on a platter. In short, New World, as far as we can surmise, wants you to work to find the secrets of Aeternum on your own. You mean I have to explore? You mean I have to put these things together on my own? Well, no, you don't have to. You can choose to spacebar through the story and look it up later on a wiki or listen to one of our lore lessons. But for those of you who are intrigued by the stories of MMOs, those of you who love to live in your games, driven by a sense of role play and finding your place in the world, stick with us. Because what we found in New World so far could be setting the stage for one hell of a story.